A map boundary has one job: keep the player within the area where the game is meant to take place. It is not about punishing exploration, it's about making sure the player doesn't walk outside the world you built for them. The problem starts when the player feels the boundary instead of simply accepting it. Hi, it's Seta here, and in this video I will show you ways to limit the player on the map, because a badly designed boundary is the fastest way to destroy the immersion that you built throughout the rest of the game. And just like the previous video of this series, this one is a mix of level and environment design knowledge made mainly for solo developers, no matter which engine they use. So, let's begin. First, it's worth knowing that boundaries in games are divided into two types: hard boundaries and soft boundaries. Hard boundaries is a physical obstacle that immediately prevents the player from leaving the map. The right way to do this is through environment barriers. Things like walls, cliffs, step slopes, oceans and rivers are naturally part of the world. Players accept them because they are part of the environment. But the worst version of hard boundaries is an invisible wall. A hidden collision place where visually nothing is blocking the way. It destroys immersion the most when the player sees that they should be able to move in a certain direction, but the game doesn't allow it.
When I say that the path is blocked by a fallen tree, what I mean is that the path is blocked by a fallen tree, Rowan.
Therefore, you should avoid invisible wall, and when creating environment boundaries, try to make them fit the terrain the best as possible. But what if you can't surround the entire map with such environmental elements? This is where soft boundaries come in. There are boundaries that the player can cross, but the world makes it clear that is a bad idea. The first and the simplest type of soft boundary is a narrative boundary, when the player doesn't even feel restricted. It is not a physical boundary, but a story one. A bridge collapses as the player approaches, a guard blocks the path because the story requires it, a road is cut off because something just happened in the game world. The player is a witness, not a victim of a mechanic, especially when the boundaries form right in front of their eyes. Such a boundary can also be created by the character themselves. A sigh, a few steps back, or a comment suggesting that this is not the right direction. The more the boundaries arise from the logic of the world and the character personality, the less the player feels controlled by the game. Narrative boundaries work best when your game has a strong story and well-developed characters. The richer the world, the more believable the boundary. But sometimes it's not the character, but the word that has to say, turn back or die. A countdown boundary is the one of the most common soft boundaries. The player crosses the boundary and immediately receives a signal that they have limited time to return. The simplest form is a countdown with a story consequences. In military games, desertion. In sci-fi, leaving a protected zone. In horror, entering the area when the monster hunts. But the countdown can also be purely environmental. Freezing cold that slowly kills, toxic gas that damages health, or radiation that gradually harms the character. The key point is that a countdown boundary works through time pressure or survivor pressure, not collision. Countdown boundaries work best in games where the time pressure fits the atmosphere, such as survival, military, or sci-fi games. However, sometimes the world cannot kill the players directly, so it sends something to do it instead. Monsters roaming beyond the edge of the map, much stronger enemy. That's enough to scare the player and force them to stay away from the boundary. But remember, in your game, you don't necessarily have to kill the player. It is enough if they wake up near the boundary after a lost encounter, half wounded, with dizziness, which will pass if he leaves the border. The boundary didn't kill them, it just showed them their limits. Countdown and enemy boundaries work best when your game has a clear sense of danger. The more hostile the world is by nature, the more natural the boundary will feel to the player. But a boundary doesn't have to come from direct danger. Sometimes cost is enough. An economy boundary means that crossing a certain area is possible, but not worth it. oxygen that runs out before you can make it back, or fuel that won't be enough to return to base. Economy boundary is especially effective in games with a deep resource system. If economy is central part of your project, costs become a natural regulator for exploration. And there is one more very subtle way to limit space, through perception. The world doesn't not threaten you or track your resources, it simply makes it harder to see where are you going. The player can keep moving, but gradually lose their sense of direction. Visual boundaries work best when they are consistent with atmosphere, the nature of location, or the mood of the game, then they become a part of the world. This approach doesn't not tell the player to turn back, it simply makes further exploration irrational or uncomfortable. And now, most important thing, none of this boundary has to exist in pure form. You can combine a visual limitation with a narrative justification. The more a boundary comes from multiple systems working together, the less it feels like a restriction and more it feels like a natural property of the world. This is where creativity matters, because designing boundaries is not about stopping the player.
Damn these mimes and their invisible walls!
It's about making the player decide on their own that they shouldn't go any further. And that's all for this video. If it was helpful, leave a like. If you have any questions, write them in the comments. And if you want to learn more, check out other videos on the channel. And until next time, see ya.